Good morning, and it's great to be back. It's great to be back in person. I said I could probably do 15 minutes of isn't it great to be back in person, and all of the connections and watching people outside, having coffee, being able to talk about things kind of over a chat. And at the same time, also been able to facilitate people coming in online, and I know that we've a couple of hundred people who are joining us online today. So hopefully this will be the best of both worlds we'll be able to organise over the next couple of days. But I'm also sure you're all going to bear with us because this is the first time we're doing this type of event. So as they always say, there'll be lots of learnings. So do bear with us both online and in person to make as we work our way through this. So, as I said, delighted to be here. For my presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about the new EPA Statement of Strategy, which we're actually just launching here today. And then, unsurprisingly, I also want to talk a little bit about water quality and set the scene from the EPA perspective. So, first of all, in the context of strategy, as I said, I'm delighted to be able to launch our new Statement of Strategy here today. It flows from a number of things. We were actually due to do our strategy in 2020, 2021, but deliberately in the context of COVID held back so that we could take on board some of the learnings over the pandemic and see what the implications that would have for our role and how we work as an agency. But two key things that have fed into the strategy. The first is the OECD review of the agency, which was published just literally at the same time as the pandemic happened in March 2020. And what the OECD review stated was that the EPA is a highly trusted and a highly respected organisation. That is really important for us. But of course, like any review, they challenged us and made recommendations in a number of areas. First of all, that we needed to be clear with regard to environmental outcomes and what we were aiming to achieve in the context of our role. Also in our communications, and to improve our communications because we have so much information, how do we make best use of that? And also influence behaviour at all levels, whether that be a policy, but also at individual behaviour level. And then last but not least, and linking in with the policy piece, a challenge that we should be using more of our data, evidence and science to inform the policy debate, recognising that the agency is very much a state body. We're not an activist organisation. We're all about the science, the data and the evidence, but how can we use that science and data and evidence, as I said, to inform the policy debate more. The other key document was the State of the Environment report that was published in 2020, and the key finding from that document was that overall the quality of Ireland's environment is not what it should be, and the outlook is not optimistic unless we accelerate the implementation of solutions across all sectors of society. So, just on the strategy then, the first thing is to talk about the purpose and the vision. And the purpose is very similar to what we had previously, and we're really focused on protecting and improving as well as restoring our environment. And those core functions of the agency of regulation, knowledge and working with others. In the vision, we have changed this, and we had a lot of discussion amongst ourselves, and again looking at what's happening overall. And tipping it really so that the vision is now we live sustainably in a healthy environment that is valued and protected by all. And this is really highlighting the challenge for us and probably all of us here today to how do we make sure that people value the environment? What's our role in ensuring that people recognise the importance and the value of the environment? And you know, we can't be sitting in ivory towers. We need to be engaging with people so that they understand the benefit to them on an individual basis as well as a societal basis of our environment. And I think during COVID, we really started to see people connecting more with their local environment when we were kind of stuck with our 2Ks and our 5Ks, etc. We really did link in better at the time. So, then just in the values and behaviours, and we've worked with all of the staff on these, and the one that I just wanted to focus on today, because each of the values and behaviours behind those, the values have behaviours that every single one of us in the agency are committed to. And I say that in that within those behaviours, there's commitments that I, as I said, each member of staff are committing to. So if you take customer and stakeholder focus, what we've said is we actively listen to and understand our customers and stakeholders to deliver and design excellent services. And that is, as I said, back for everybody, for all of society, and that the behaviours associated with those are, I take account of our customers and stakeholders' perspectives in everything I do, and I work to deliver public value and our vision. So I suppose that's a challenge for us, and I know there's a huge amount of engagement with all of the water community that we have, so how we engage with you on that. We've 5 strategic outcomes. The first is we're an effective voice for Ireland's environment. And here it's all about the trusted and the independence that was recognised as part of the OECD review, but also further to engagement with stakeholders, this issue of transparency and the importance of us as a public body being transparent in everything that we do and making all of our information and our data freely available in a way that's understandable and easy to use. So again, we think we've come a long way with regard to making that information and data available, but there's always more that we can do. And again, welcome feedback from yourselves of what more can we do to be able to utilise that evidence we have. We move on then to, we have 3, I suppose, specific environmental outcomes. One is to use our knowledge to drive climate action. The next is we deliver a protected and healthy environment, and you see water is explicitly referenced here. And then the third is we promote the transition to sustainable production and consumption. And within this, it's not just what you would expect in the context of a circular economy, but very specifically we've called out sustainable agricultural production, recognising the challenges that we have in Ireland with regard to the environmental impact of agriculture. And then the 5th strategic outcome reflects our commitment to building on our culture of excellence. We have really highly committed, excellent scientific staff. We've staff supporting all of the work that we do. So really looking and seeing where we go to from here to further develop and further to support all of our staff so that we can continue to deliver the excellent outcomes that we do. And as part of all of this, of course, protecting and improving our aquatic environment integrates and cross-cuts across all of these outcomes. We've set a goal, and under each of these outcomes, we have goals of what we will deliver by 2026, and we've set a goal for 2026 to substantially increase the number of water bodies at higher good water quality. We recognise we can't do this alone, but this is a really important outcome that we are absolutely committed to. We're also committed to ensuring that regulated activities which pollute the environment or impact public health are held to account. And from a climate perspective, we'll be reviewing our monitoring programmes to ensure that they are measuring and addressing the impacts of climate change so that we can communicate those impacts and risks and also be looking at how that impacts water resources, both quality and quantity. And we will also continue to advocate for and support the transition to a sustainable food system in Ireland, which is essential to deliver on those water quality objectives, given that agriculture is the most significant pressure on water quality. So the strategy is now available on our website. I really would encourage you to look at it, and we look forward to engaging with all of you in the delivery over the coming years. And moving on to the second item around water quality, as we face into the 3rd cycle of the Water Framework Directive, we know we have a significant challenge ahead of us to achieve water quality objectives, and I don't think any of us should underestimate those. The quality of Ireland's surface water is under significant pressure from human activities, with just over half of, 53% of surface water is in satisfactory conditions, which means that just under half are not in satisfactory condition. So the scale of the challenge to bring all water bodies to good or better ecological health by 2027, which is required under the WFD, is really going to be extremely challenging. And this is at a time when we're seeing decline in water quality, and the decline is primarily being driven by nutrient pollution coming from agriculture and wastewater systems. Fertiliser spreading, slurry spreading, and other nutrient losses are causing pollution that must be addressed in the next River Basin Management Plan. And I know that Fergal will talk more about this morning. And of course, we also need the implementation of the recently approved 5th Nitrates Action Plan. And Irish Water have a very key role here in that they must ensure that the necessary wastewater infrastructure is in place and is not causing pollution. And the EPA have reported, I suppose, on a relatively frequently basis about delays in infrastructure being put in place. So it is essential that it is put in place as is legally required by the EPA authorisations. So our science and our evidence provides an even greater understanding of the main pressures impacting our water environment. And this, of course, then helps design and inform solutions. The most widespread pressure relates to agriculture, our most predominant land use, so it's not surprising that it is the most significant pressure. But that pressure continues to increase over the last number of years. So we need urgent and we need effective action to address these trends. And also not to be looking at the impact on water quality from the agriculture in isolation, because we also have significant issues with regard to greenhouse gas emissions and ammonia emissions from the agriculture sector. And we need to look at these in totality. Now, of course, we also know that agriculture is a vital cog in the rural economy, and the farmers need to be supported and incentivised to carry out management activities in an environmentally sustainable manner, while also providing for economically viable livelihoods, because the two need to go hand in hand. However, most recent evidence suggests that this may also require enforcement measures or other penalties for poor environmental performance. And looking back, it's clear that the 4th Nitrates Action Plan, one of the main instruments designed to protect water quality from pollution from agricultural sources and to promote the use of good farming practice, did not deliver the required water quality objectives. The EPA has consistently highlighted that the current levels of non-compliance with the associated good agricultural practice regulations is unacceptable. Securing compliance with all existing and new regulations needs to be given priority, using the full suite of enforcement tools. So that includes support and advice, it includes incentives, and includes strengthened enforcement. Most recently, in April, Ireland's 5th Nitrates Action Plan was approved by the Commission, and it addresses this very point and includes strengthening our compliance and enforcement regime. This includes a stronger role for the EPA in the oversight of local authority agricultural inspections, which strongly links with our role under the Water Framework Directive to monitor, assess and report on the impact of agriculture and other pressures on water quality, and to advise the Minister on measures to mitigate these impacts. So we are taking this role very seriously. We are currently developing a plan to progress this new and enhanced role, as well as working through the NIS network to deliver a greater level of protection for water quality. And as we evaluate and assess the environmental challenges facing the country, we see many interlinkages and interdependencies between environmental policies and legislation and agricultural legislation. So they are absolutely connected. And better alignment between them is essential towards achieving our environmental ambitions. And this integration was a key theme of the EPA's State of the Environment report, where we make the case for a national policy position on the environment, which clearly articulates what is the level of ambition for Ireland's environment in the short, medium and longer term. And where we're also highlighting the fact that we tend in Ireland to look at each of the environmental issues in isolation. Back to water quality is looked separately from climate, from biodiversity, from air quality, etc. They are all connected, and that needs to be recognised in that overall policy position. In addition, we emphasise the need of coherence and alignment across the agricultural plans and policies, because there are multiple agricultural plans and policies, and these need to join up measures and make sure there's a coherent approach to protecting the environment in the agricultural sector. The sum of the parts actually needs to deliver ultimately for the environment. So with those challenges in mind, we'll be setting the scene at the conference this morning with presentations on the current state of water quality in Ireland and an update on the next River Basin Management Plan, which we look forward to seeing later this year. And I look at Fergal in that regard, and I'm sure we'll hear on more on that. Tomorrow, we're delighted to have Hans Brennings, who's the head of the European Environment Agency, and he's going to be talking to us about the European context with a great title of Water is Back. So I'd really look forward to that, and Hans is always interesting and stimulating. So I would recommend, as I said, either tuning in or being present for that one. And of course, communicating our science and data is probably one of the biggest challenges we have as scientists. So tomorrow we're going to get a view on the public perception of water quality from Ella McSweeney. And again, really interesting, I am sure. And then agriculture, hydromorphology and wastewater are the three biggest pressures we have on water quality. And over the next days, we'll be looking at some of the actions underway to address these both at a national and also at a policy level. But personally, I think even more importantly, we're going to be hearing case studies on some of the good work that's happening on the ground, and that is underway across local authorities and communities. So where the real action is happening on the ground. And as my colleague Emer Cotter will be outlining in the next talk, our water quality remains under significant pressure. Protecting our environment and improving water quality requires us to integrate policy and practice, continue to work together to find solutions to challenging problems, and seek multiple opportunities for benefits for climate, air, biodiversity and health. We also, and reiterating it again, need to ensure the full implementation of and achieve compliance with existing legislation. The role of local authorities is essential for this, and we welcome the review of resources for local authority water functions, which is currently underway. So I'm going to leave it at that. I really would like to thank all of you who are here present in Galway today and all of you who have tuned in online. I hope that you're going to find the conference really interesting, stimulating, and lots of debate and discussion. Thank you very much.